on your test Friday, you are going to have to show me that you can do them solve the different ways. So the first way of graphing, that's what we learned when we started. We graph each equation. The solution for that is going to be an ordered pair. That ordered pair is going to be an XY. But if you have two parallel lines, you're going to have no solution. If we have the same line, you're going to have infinitely many. So when you think of that same line, you actually have the same equation here. They're exactly the same. Y equals mx plus b, exactly the same. When we're graphing, that's when our equations are written in this form, y equals mx plus b. That one solution, that's our x comma y. So on the quiz Wednesday, I'll look for you to tell me, oh, that's your solution, looking at that one point. Or there's no solution when you have two parallel lines. And when you have parallel lines, that's when we have no solution. That's because they have the same slope when we are looking at those. When you use substitution, substitution is when we said, oh, x or y equals. So you might have had an equation where you had x equals. We said put that in a parenthesis. In the second equation, you're going to substitute that in for the x, if this was our equation. Okay? Now, I didn't tell you what x was equal to here, but you replaced it, and then you use your distributive property. So substitution is when you have either an x or y equals something else. Again, when we go to solve, you're going to have xy for our answer. Or, if it's a true statement, that's when you're going to have infinitely many. This is when you have something like 0 equals 0 or 4 equals 4. That is your infinitely many solutions. The no solution, when we are looking at no solution, that's when we're going to have something like 4 equals 0 when you solve it algebraically. Okay? The mistake some of you made last week is when you did your graphing quiz. When you did the quiz on graphing, what you did instead of making sure that you knew how to graph it, you solved it with substitution. And just so you're clear on the quiz this week when you do that, when you look at that, you need to make sure that you know how to graph your equations. So for the elimination, that's what we were working on Friday. That was the F10. When we think about that F10 as we are working on that with elimination, this was F8, 9, and 10. That's when we lined up our equations. Sometimes you needed to multiply like we did on F10 in order for them to eliminate. Then you added or subtracted them to eliminate one variable. The solution, again, you might get x equals or y equals. And I will tell you this on the test and the quiz on Friday. If you want to just leave it as x equals, and you put a box around that or circle it, and you want to leave it with the y equals, I'd take that. Or I would always take your answer as an ordered pair, x comma y. And again, infinitely many, same as here, always a true statement. No solution is when you have that false statement. Question? Question?
He just couldn't see, so he asked me to look.
Yeah. I'm going to change your seating arrangement to be up in front, so that'll work better for you. Graphing's going to be the best if you don't need to estimate your solution if it's exact. Okay? When you get that exact point, that's a nice way to graph. If you have a graphing calculator, because it can give you the right exact answer, it give you the you put it in the Desmos calculator, it'll give you that exact solution. Or if the equations are in slope-intercept form. Keeping in mind that slope-intercept form, y equals mx plus b, that's where some of you kind of got confused on that last quiz. When you think about that, when we are looking at the y equals mx plus b, this is where we are looking at b being our beginning. Okay, so we're looking at that as our beginning. That was the point 0b. When we take a look at the slope, the m, that's our rise over the run. And again, if it's positive, that's when your line goes up, and when it's negative, your line goes down. And then what you look for is after you've graphed those, you're trying to find that point of intersection, or it's going to be parallel, or it's going to be the exact same line. When you do substitution, The key thing you want to look for, at least one equation has one variable solved. So you either have an x equal or a y equals, and you put that in a parenthesis and you substitute it. These equations usually are not easy to graph because they kind of have ugly numbers as we are looking at those. When I look at the elimination, that's when we are looking at, as we look at our equation, one of the variables has the same or opposite coefficients. So when we were working on Friday and we had something like a 3x and a negative 3x, those two are going to be very easy to eliminate because that's going to give us 0x. So same coefficient, opposite signs. They both have a 3. One's positive, one's negative. Or it's easy to multiply and rewrite them to use elimination, and it wouldn't necessarily be easy to graph. So what you want to keep in mind is you're going to have to use all three of these when we take our quiz on Wednesday. Let's look at what's on the quiz. The quiz is going to be on Wednesday. Again, this is page 26 in your workbook notes. So Wednesday is our quiz. So 213. It's going to have 6 questions, 48 points, which pretty much means each question is worth 8 points each when we are looking at those. The first thing you are going to be asked to do when you get to the quiz, you'll probably see the graphing problems first. There's going to be 2 graphing questions. There's going to be 2 that you have to solve using substitution. If you use elimination when it says substitution, it's going to be wrong. You'll lose all 8 points, or probably 7 points, even if you can get the answer. So, substitution, there's going to be 2 questions using elimination, and then there's going to be 2 where you have to graph them. And again, just like we were talking about before with the graphing, when you are graphing, the easiest way to graph is to make sure your equations are written in y equals mx plus b form. This was lesson F1 to F3. This was when we were doing the substitution. This was F5, 6, and 7. This was F8, 9, and 10 for those units. So if you need to go back and look at the notes or the video or the problems in those, because we didn't do all of them, you might want to go back and practice them because you have those answers. So when I'm looking at this, keeping in mind that the B is my 0B, it's my start point on the graph. The M is my rise over run when I'm going to graph. And again, the positive and the negative slope. Graphing should either be parallel, the exact same line, or that one solution x, y. Question. Yes, by all means, the answers are back there. It'd probably be good practice if you're struggling with those. In this next section, from 4 to 11, 4 to 11, you need to do number 9 and 10. You must do 9 and 10. And then pick 2 more. And again, if you're struggling with the substitution, you might want to do more of those. So 4 to 11, make sure you do 9 and 10, circle those 2, and then you can choose 2 more that you can do. And then over here from 15 to 22, you need to pick 4. Okay? So this is due on Wednesday when you come in.